We can't possibly review anything from Onkyo without first addressing the elephant in the room. So last week, Onkyo Home Entertainment officially filed for bankruptcy and was delisted from the Japanese stock exchange, according to Forbes magazine. So it would appear that Onkyo Home Entertainment, based in Japan, is no more. While it's understandable you might think news of Onkyo's bankruptcy will affect your recent receiver purchase, according to the Premium Audio Group, which is a subsidiary of Vox, they are going to continue to develop, build, and support products under the Onkyo, Integra, and Pioneer name. Now, we reached out to them for an official statement, and here is one from Paul Jacobs, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Premium Audio Company. Demand for Onkyo and Integra products has been very high, and we expect this to intensify in the coming years. We have been working very closely with Sharp to ramp up production and have grown our business significantly since the acquisition was completed. We have big plans for Onkyo and the other brands sold through the 11 Trading Company, and as we build production and expand distribution, believe sales will more than double in the near term. Rumors or any statements to the contrary about the Onkyo brand are simply unfounded and misleading. So, with all that out of the way, let's take a look at the Onkyo TX-NR7100 AV receiver. The 7100 is a 9.2 channel home theater receiver, meaning it can power up to 9 speakers and 2 subwoofers. Just know that the subwoofer outs are not independent of one another. Now, you can drive any type of speaker configuration from stereo to 7.2.2 and almost everything in between. There are no preamp outs apart from the subwoofer outputs that will enable you to go beyond 9 channels. So if you are needing, say, 11.2 channels, you're going to need to look elsewhere. The 7100 is rated at 100 watts per channel with 2 channels driven. Still, this is a THX certified receiver, meaning it is guaranteed to recreate the same volume levels you would experience in a commercial theater when seated 12 feet away from your screen. Now, obviously, as you add speakers, you can expect the power to drop, which is very common, though you don't need to be that concerned, as the 7100 is likely going to be fine driving most mainstream speakers with impedances above, say, 6 ohms and whose sensitivity rests above 85 dB or so. The 7100, like most current Onkyo, Integra, and Pioneer receivers, supports 8K60, 4K 120 across all of its HDMI inputs. Now, HDMI inputs 1 through 3 meet the 40 gigabit per second spec, whereas inputs 4 through 6 are the 24 gigabit variety. Gamers will no doubt love the support for 4K 120 pass-through, variable refresh rates, as well as auto-low latency. Of course, the 7100 also has ARC EARC, which means you get Dolby Atmos as well as DTS:X and even IMAX enhanced support. Then you've got Ethernet, Wi-Fi, AirPlay 2, Bluetooth support, which gives you compatibility with services like Chromecast, Google Assistant, Alexa, Roon, and more. There isn't much the 7100 doesn't offer by way of features. Hell, it even has a decent moving magnet phono preamp. Now, setting up the 7100 is no different than just about any other modern receiver. The on-screen menus are nice, if not a little basic, but if you're new to home theater or, say, a surround sound receiver, there is an on-screen guide that will take you through the process. For you more advanced users, you can just dive right in and find the 7100's manual adjustments, which are sufficiently detailed, though maybe not quite to the level of, say, Yamaha's receivers. Either way, the initial setup of the 7100 isn't too difficult, nor does it require you to set aside an entire afternoon before being able to sit down and enjoy a movie. Now, one feature I haven't gone over yet is the 7100's inclusion of DIRAC room correction. The 7100 actually has 2 different auto room correction options, Onkyo's own AccuEQ or the more advanced DIRAC Live. You can get good results with AccuEQ, but let's be real. If you're buying a receiver with DIRAC Live support like the 7100, you're probably going to use it. Unlike, say, an Emotiva processor or NAD receiver, DIRAC Live's implementation within the 7100 is way more streamlined. It works with the included low-profile microphone and your smartphone, so no dongles or laptops needed here, which is nice. The results pre and post a full or even quick DIRAC calibration can be dramatic, game-changing even, depending on your room's issues. That said, I have seen DIRAC take what was once an arguably unlistenable system and make it respectable. So I don't want to downplay its effectiveness. You will experience notable gains in terms of clarity, definition, and spaciousness regardless. But in an already well-treated room, the change may be a little less dramatic. Those of you who wish to tweak your speaker's sound to taste, maybe you want to up the treble or bass frequencies a little bit, you're no doubt going to love DIRAC's manual adjustment capability inside the app. You can even store your preferences into memory for recall later, which is a very nice touch. As far as sound goes, I'm actually going to keep this pretty brief because, well, we've somewhat reviewed this receiver before. The Pioneer 305 receiver we reviewed back in December is essentially the same as the 7100 here. I thought the Pioneer 305 was terrific, and I think pretty much the same with respect to the Onkyo. In fact, I can detect little, if any, difference between the two, apart from, say, their obvious physical differences and menus. Though, funnily enough, the Pioneer remote will control the Onkyo and vice versa. So let's just cover our bases real quick. In terms of the 7100's video prowess, there is absolutely nothing to complain about. I was able to game at 4K 120 courtesy of our PS5 and Call of Duty. No problems. While I'm not the biggest fan of a first-person shooter, I can say that I do like playing driving games, and I detected zero perceivable lag when playing Gran Turismo through the 7100. While Gran Turismo is a 4K 60 game and not 4K 120, even in its highest graphical settings, the motion and gameplay was buttery smooth. So to you gamers out there, zero hesitation in recommending this AVR if you're wanting to hook up multiple next-gen consoles. Now, obviously, when it comes to music and movies, the 7100 largely delivers. Now, I'm saying largely because if you have less than efficient speakers, you have a truly large room, as in larger than ours, or just insist on playing everything at full tilt, all channels driven, all of the time, you may have moments where you feel like the 7100 is straining to keep pace. You may sense a slight loss in low-end grip or some thinning or possibly even distortion in the highs, but bring things back down to earth and listen at more reasonable volumes, and maybe even volumes a click or two above reasonable, and I doubt many of you will find much, if anything, to object to. The 7100 has zero issues driving a complete clip speaker setup featuring the new RP600M Mark IIs. It also didn't seem to mind our KLH home theater built around a pair of KLH Model 5s as our left and right mains, with a new Model 3 acting as the center. Now for 2-channel listening, I tried it on a pair of Revel Concerta 2 M16s, no issues. JBL Stage 190 towers, again, pretty nice pairing. If I had any reservations about the 7100 sound quality, it would be this. For whatever reason, at louder than typical volumes, say anything over 85 to 90 dB, I feel that the sound does seem to thin a little. And if you have a speaker with a bit of treble forwardness, you may experience slightly more forward or energetic highs. But then again, for some of you, Christy being a great example, you may find this trait somewhat helpful, if not preferable, as it can result in dialogue seeming more clear compared to receivers from the likes of Marantz. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying that it's about the only sonic attribute that stood out to me with respect to the 7100 or just Onkyo receivers in general. Honestly, I find it difficult to fault the 7100. It works as advertised and gave me zero trouble during my review period. I think the app is great. I love the remote, though I do wish it was backlit. But its button layout and hotkeys for things like dialogue, treble, and bass controls, pretty great. I suppose at this price, some of you may be clamoring for things like Oro 3D, which we're going to go over in our upcoming Marantz review because I have some feelings about that. All in all, the 7100, it may not be the sexiest AVR on the block, but it works. So the two burning questions that remain are, would I buy an Onkyo, Integra, or Pioneer receiver in 2022? And if so, which one? To the first question, yes. While I understand the recent unsettling news, the brand as you know them is going to carry on. Onkyo receivers so far have proven to be pretty trouble-free, at least in my experience, and we have two of them now, the RZ50 and this 7100, and neither have given me any grief. Now, with respect to which receiver to buy, all three brands have three distinct models, and based on your needs and the needs of your surround sound setup, it should be pretty obvious which is going to be right for you. For example, if you want to grow your home theater over time and have the ability to connect more powerful amplifiers down the road, you're going to want the RZ50 or the Integra DRX 3.4 or the Pioneer 505. If you can get by with a 9.2 channel receiver with almost no upgradability for future expansion, go with the 7100 here or the Pioneer 305. Now, stock issues being what they are, you may not be able to get the brand name you ultimately wanted, but rest assured when cross-shopping these three brands, you're not going to get radically different performance. So if the 7100 is suddenly out of stock, it isn't, snatch up a Pioneer 305. As for how the 7100 compares to other brands such as Denon, Marantz, or Yamaha, it's really going to come down to personal preference. Now, I know I haven't been too keen on Yamaha's latest upper tier AVRs, though they did just get a firmware update, so maybe I need to revisit them before passing final judgment. If you are looking for a more apples-to-apples receiver from Yamaha, you're going to want to check out the RX A6A. Just know that it is more than double the price. Or the A4A, it's closer in price at $1,500. However, it does come with fewer channels. The Marantz NR7100 costs about the same as the 7100 here, and while it is lower on power at a mere 50 watts and has 2 fewer channels, it's still a viable option to consider alongside the 7100. Now, I still don't recommend the Denon S960H, which is the closest in price to that of the 7100. So if you need to own a Denon receiver, know that you're going to have to spend roughly $500 more and get the 2700H to be comparable or better than the 7100. In the end, I really hope this video has helped to dispel a few rumors, as well as give those of you who are legitimately on the market for a home theater receiver just a better understanding of what to consider when shopping for either an Onkyo, Integra, or Pioneer receiver. The Onkyo 7100 is a solid performer that, while not wholly unique, at least within its own family of brands, it does stand out among the competition in that it offers up a lot of next-gen features for a fair price. While it does not embarrass or even upset my current favorite AV receiver, the Onkyo RZ50, it may be all the receiver a lot of you need, and for less money, which is why I still recommend checking it out for yourself. So that's it. That is now my review of the Onkyo 7100 9.2 channel AV receiver. But now I wonder if Kristi has some thoughts on it.
Okay. First thing first. Yes, I like it. Okay. I think it's an exceptionally solid product. And I all but agree with you, everything you said. Now, I still believe that the RZ50 is worth the upgrade and is still one of the most well-rounded receivers currently available on the market. Now, on to what I still think is the larger issue for Onkyo and the Premier Audio Group. I really, really am concerned if they're going to be able to recover from the news that came out about the bankruptcy situation. Yeah. Now, I know they gave out this statement, and I really appreciate that they got us that in time to put this together because, frankly, we've had this receiver for a while. Oh, yeah. And, this has been on the schedule for a while, and the timing was sucked for this. I mean, I guess you could look at it one of two ways. It sucked for us because we're like, great. Yeah. But also, okay, well, maybe this gives us an opportunity. It's very topical. To, answer some people's questions. Sure. That said, I'm struggling a little bit here. And I am a fan. I am a big fan of a lot of the things that come out of Premium Audio Group. Sure. Whether it's Klipsch, Onkyo, Magnet, whatever. Yeah. But come on now. You cannot tell me you didn't know that this was coming. And I just feel like they were a bit unprepared when it came to this the bankruptcy announcement. Like the fact that how was this statement not at the ready? You know what I mean? Yeah. You cannot. They needed to get out in front of it. That right there is what really bothers me. And what I can imagine audiophiles who are already some of the most skeptical people I've ever met in my whole life are going to keep that tin hat on and maybe have some difficulty buying the statement. Yeah. I'm very concerned. Yeah. And it sucks because I think this is a great product. I think the RZ50 is a fantastic product. Oh, all of them are arguably great, are fantastic. Yeah. I mean, as someone who in a past life, went to school for advertising, marketing, things like that. There's two ways to take any news story, and that is you get out in front of it, or you think that by not saying anything, it will eventually die down and go away. I don't know what their strategy was. I think if they knew the news was coming and
conversations would sort of indicate that that is the case, then why a statement, I agree with you, why a statement wasn't at the ready is baffling to me. If their approach was the opposite and that this will all blow over because the news hits on a Friday and Friday news cycles are where you do the dumps that you hope no one notices, they don't quite understand the hi-fi home theater community. There is so little mainstream news about our little niche that any news rises to the top. And in this instance, yes, the well has potentially been poisoned in the minds of, say, public opinion. Because I don't think they did a very good job 2 years ago, I think it was, or 18 months ago, when the acquisition of the Onkyo USA kind of brands and Pioneer and whatever, they didn't do a very good job educating or explaining that to the general hi-fi community or home theater community that this had occurred. And so a lot of people didn't even know that Onkyo, as they know it, has been a subsidiary of Sharp, Vox, Premium Audio Group, whatever name you want to go by today.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's so confusing.
Right. And that's just business. I mean, that's just business. I don't want to wade into that. But I think if you are a well-respected brand or family of brands taking over an iconic brand like Onkyo, people need to know that. And I don't believe that they did a good enough job doing that, especially after all of the news of Sound United first taking a crack at Onkyo and then pulling out. Like Sound United, sorry, Vox or whomever, they made a huge deal about trying to get it. Now, when they ultimately pulled back and rescinded their offer, they tried to be like, like that. And that really sent Onkyo spiraling, in my opinion. But yeah, like the fact that Onkyo was acquired, saved from the brink almost 2 years ago or 2 years ago now, that should have been in the forefront of people's minds so that when they see this news, they know there is a difference between what's happening to Onkyo Japan and Onkyo, call it the AV receiver company. So yeah.
Totally great points. I think it's kind of a scary time to be an audiophile with all of the different sales of companies happening and the sort of homogenization of brands, brand A over here getting picked up by umbrella company over there, and then that company gets sold. And well, now what's going to happen to, I mean, we're kind of seeing it all across hi-fi and home theater.
Yeah.
So I totally get it why people would be reluctant to just accept whatever narrative it gets presented this time around, and why you might feel unsure about your purchasing decisions. But I don't know that you really have a choice. I kind of think that you're just going to have to sort of roll the dice and hope that you make the right decision, because really, whether you choose Onkyo or a MARANTZ product or a DENON product, things are all a little bit up in the air.
I actually feel a little bit better about this, despite the last couple of days of news and stuff. I actually feel a little bit better about this than the complete unknown that is a medical supply company buying Sound United. Like, what does that have to do with the other? And I have a whole bunch of feelings about that. I mean, at a minimum, at least Onkyo, Integra, Pioneer joining forces or being under the umbrella that also includes Eclipse and so many other brands. At least they're all audio related, and so there is a chance that even at the executive level, you still have people that are audio focused, because that is the entire portfolio's business.
I think those are some really good points, and hopefully will help calm the larger community, their nerves, so to speak. Before we sign off, there's a couple of other things that I know people had questions about, and I had questions about, that when we reached out to Premium Audio Group, we tried to get a few answers. One thing I know people have asked us about recently is the Onkyo RZ70, and the response we received was that there are no new AVRs on the product roadmap for this year, but that they have some exciting AV solutions coming in 2023. Now, I mean, if I'm reading between the lines, does that mean that there will be no RZ70?
I have no idea. I think Denon, Marantz, Yamaha, Onkyo, Integra, Pioneer, hell, Sony, they all need to just catch up with their existing demand before they start promising new things.
Ain't that the truth?
You know,
I mean, and that kind of leads me into the other thing that we asked them about, you know, just for a general status on inventory issues.
Yeah.
I mean, like, is anything, like you said, like delivering what you've already said you're coming out with or have come out with, can the average consumer buy one?
Yeah.
The response was, we are seeing production increase on most models and expect that to continue to improve.
Yeah, and we did follow up with them regarding supply chain issues and kind of where things were. And basically, we were told that they are doing better. They are aware that they are behind. They are aware that they've had troubles, but they do acknowledge, and they have told us that they're actually being able to ramp things up. And while they're not at 100% or meeting absolutely one-to-one the demand, they're hopeful that they're going to get there sooner than later. So
their official statement was that they're shipping a significantly larger amount of AVRs than we did last year.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I guess if I ship 10, that's better than 2. But no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Look, it's happening, but everyone's in this boat right now. So
all right. Well, hopefully that helps clear up people's confusions.
Probably not.
Answer questions. I don't know. You tell us.
Yeah.
Do you feel any better?
Or are you just as confused?
Yeah.
All right. So that is now our review of the Onkyo 7100 AV receiver. I know it's a little bit weird, but now you get to tell us what you thought. And while you're down there in the comments, my question of the day for you, it should be probably pretty obvious, but it is, with all of the news surrounding Onkyo, what are your thoughts? Let us know down in the comments below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Go ahead and ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Kristi left for you down below, or you clicked the button thanks, or you become a member of this channel, know that those are all great ways that you have shown your support for this channel and the work that we do here. And both of us thank you all very much for doing that. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that is it for us today. So remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.